Hello, welcome back to our AWS Connect training. We actually went through a series of lectures on AWS Connect, talked about the architecture, and then we talked about how to fit Lex into AWS Connect and how to use it. In this particular series, what we want to do is tell a little story about how to connect Lambda to the Lex. And so we're gonna do that in this video, and once again, these videos are brought to you by Home Task AI, and and let's move forward. Okay, so what we want to do is discuss Lex calling Lambda, and so what I found out was when you're configuring a chatbot and you're trying to do something self-service, you could create a Lex bot and basically define some slots which you need answers to, and questions in which you could try to retrieve the answer to those slots. And so, what I chose was a home remodeling contract service where a customer is chatting with me, and they need indoor services. They need something in a particular room, like a kitchen. They need floor tiling. And what happens is when I ask the questions and get the answers, I go down this little path where I try to answer all the questions. I said, okay, we'll have a representative call you, and I capture the conversation, and the conversation's captured. What you need is a Lambda configured in your Lex to capture that information and send it via email or persist it into DynamoDB. And so first I created the Lex with the conversation, and then I realized I needed the result of the conversation. And so with Lex, you can configure one Lambda for the Lex bot, and you have to configure it at the Lex bot level. And then what you have to do is define where you want to invoke that Lambda. So the Lambda could be used to validate all the inputs from the user who are answering for the particular slots, to validate them. Or you could do what I did, where I said, I can't just want to fire a Lambda at the end. I want the complete conversation. And during fulfillment, you answer all the questions, I'm going to grab all the information and send it via email somewhere. I should be persisting it in DynamoDB to get a record of everything, but right now I'm just sending it via email. So the goal is to look at something like this, and this is what I have implemented at this point in time, as ad hoc as it is. What I'm doing is I have an Amazon Connect instance. Okay, so my Amazon Connect instance is set up, and what I have is some call numbers where the user can dial in and make phone calls. Um, but what I wanted to do is make sure that the Home Task IO had a particular widget, a chat widget, so a user can chat and say, I need this, I need that, I need this, and basically have a Lexbot configured, and deploy it as a widget and put it into my website. So as as non-intuitive as it is, although it might be simple for some people, I find it a little bit confusing, because I got workflows with my Amazon Connect for receiving phone calls and directing to agents. But then I wanted this chat widget, and I at first wanted it to be very self-service. I don't need an agent. I just want to take the Lexbot, ask a bunch of questions, get a bunch of answers, take those question and answers, and then send an email to someone who might be interested in them. And so the goal is, a user is in a state of Connecticut, let's say. They want floor tiling for a kitchen. It's indoors. The room is the kitchen. They want floor tiles, and they're in a particular zip code. And so the idea is to have, ideally you'd have registered users, but if you don't, you could ask the user questions. What's your phone number? What's your zip? Where's your address? You could do all that, but the idea is to really have a user profile that you don't have to do that for users. So the user comes on, does a chat, starts asking questions and needing self-service, and they get a response back from the Lexbot saying, okay, we got all your information. We're going to fulfill it by by calling a Lambda, sending an email, and sending it to someone, let's say in this area, that might specialize in an indoor kitchen floor tiling, let's say. Okay, uh, my demo here is just showing this happening. Uh, let me see if I could go to my 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 website. Is this okay? Um, so this is the website, and this is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so yes, usually you'd have a registration here and a login. And going back to my architecture, I need to prototype this thing up, which I'm doing right now, and I need some experimental companies to agree to work with me, and let's suppose I have those, and let's say I have two companies. One does outdoor work, one does indoor work, whatever it may be, and I suppose I'm working with them, and so for now, the registration is not really that important. The login really is probably not that important either. I'm trying to redirect a work needed by customers, let's say in Connecticut or any other state, and I'm trying to redirect it to them. So basically, um, what I do is I create this Lexbot, and I basically uh, create a chat widget, and I deploy it in my code, and I'll show you how you do that in a moment. But the goal is for a user to come here and say, okay, I need help with some remodeling in my house, my kitchen. And so I'm just going to say help here just to show you the question and answers that I have set up. So the customer is asking help. What can I help with? Do you need indoor or outdoor work? I'm going to say indoor. And what room are you trying to fix? Let's suppose it's the kitchen. What service do you need for your home? So let's suppose I say floor tiles. And like I said, this isn't perfect, but it serves as a demo. What is your first name, Steve? What is your last name? Let me just think that through. My phone number. Now, if I had to use a profile um, in Salesforce, I wouldn't need to do this. This is just demonstration. Oh, but when I'm connecting to my Amazon Connect, I could have this user that is me who's using the chat in Salesforce, and the user profile information could be retrieved when I start interacting with AWS Connect. That should have my phone number. That should have my email address. So this chat bot could change very easily by not even asking these questions. But let's just move forward. I'm going to say I'm in Connecticut now. That's another answer. I could probably detect that from the phone, making the call, or the user chatting, um, and understand their profile. So now I'm asking for an email address. So I go and I basically just throw in an email address. And like I said, this is something that should be retrieved. And can you should you fulfill? And I'm going to say yes. At that point, I'm invoking the Lambda, because what I'm doing is I have a chatbot, and although I can invoke the Lambda every time I respond to one of these slots, which is the answer to the question, I could be validating them. Now, it turns out that if I put in the wrong email address, this slot is type email address. So if I don't put the @ symbol, you'll get an error and it'll ask you again for the email. And so I could do any kind of validation that I want here. And all these fields, I think this is a phone number. I don't know what kind of validation that's going to do, but I'm really not validating too much here, and I should be, because if I ask you for a room, what room are you working in, and you call it Mama's room or whatever, I should just say I need to know what room you're talking about. So there could be validation in each steps in here. The Lambda could get triggered for each step, but I'm not doing that. When I say yes to this fulfillment, that's right after that, the Lambda gets executed. Excuse me. And what I'm doing is just grabbing the conversation. So the results of this conversation is going to go to someone. Now, who is it going to go to? Um, well, some contractor in Connecticut that's interested in doing floor tiling in a kitchen that wants to work with my company. And I could even go so far to say that wants to subscribe to these connections um, and receive these notifications. So, basically, that's basically what I'm doing. So the Lambda got invoked. So let me just show you a little bit about. Let me just show you a little bit about how this happened. Um, and if I go, this is Amazon Lex. So first, let me show you how to configure this. Um, so if I go to my bots in Amazon Lex, I see I have this test bot that I invoked it, but I have this custom chat that Lexbot that I created myself. And this is the one that has I designed this. I call the intent get help, and what it does is ask all the questions. Uh, it might ask questions, and I get initial responses. And I got certain slots. I ask for which room, which service, what's your first name, what's your last name. Um, and these slots, when I define them, I define, well, what slots first? This is indoor and outdoor. What's my next slot? If it's indoor, then I go to the next slot. What room? If it's outdoor, then I ask a different question. But in the prompts, I actually elicit the next prompt. So if the answer is indoor, I go to what room. If the answer is outdoor, I go to a different slot. So keep that in mind that you'd have to look to see um, uh, what order these slots are happening and the logic and where it goes after that slot. So all that's honky dory. We actually went through this Lexbot before in detail. So I believe I covered all of that. But now I want to show you, let's go back to the bots, and let me show you, so I'm at this bot, I'm in, let me see, this is, yeah, I'm in the home task bot, and I see the versions and languages, etc. So I'm in home task, and so let me see what I did here to configure this. So what I did was I went to the aliases. And if you go to aliases for this bot, if you go to aliases, you go to test alias, it'll you go to the language of the Lexbot. But let me just yeah. So you go to the language of the Lexbot, and what I do is I say, okay, this Lexbot is going to have this send email lambda. So at the alias level, I configure this Lexbot with the latest version of Lambda. And so that's how you associate the Lambda with the Lexbot. And so there's a little bit of, I mean, this is all documented on the Amazon site, and you'll find out if you don't do this, you'll get an error. So now let me go back to the home task chatbot. So now we go back to intents. And now what I need to do, now that this Lambda is ready to get triggered, um, I got to make sure that my Lexbot has permission to trigger that Lambda. So I need to go into the permissions uh, and make sure that the policy has the proper things there. So that's another thing. But let me just go into what I tried to accomplish. Now, what I want to do is I want to I want to grab all the information for the slots, and then when I want to end or fulfill, I want to say, okay, I'm done with the user getting the answers to the questions. So what I want to do now is I want to grab the information and I want to send it to SES. I want to send an email. But now, how do I do that? So what I notice is, can we, in this particular prompt, I want to fulfill. So the slot type is fulfill. It's either a yes or a no. So I'm asking the user, is it yes or no? And and if you look at the advanced options, there's a place here where you could put the dialog code hook. Now, now I want the user to say yes. I want a successful response. So let me see what I have here. So yeah, over here I say next step in conversation is invoke the dialog code hook. And so now there was a little bit of confusion here what I needed here, and it turned out I didn't need the end of this conversation when I fulfill. It turns out I have a handle on the whole conversation. So I'll show you that in a minute. And what I'm doing is invoking a dialog code hook because I want to invoke it once at the end of my chatbot. Now, the other option was to invoke it every time a user responds to a slot name, right? So I'm asking a bunch of questions, and the Lambda could be validating each response from the user. And I didn't do that yet because I don't want to. And plus, I had some issues with with the response type of the Lambda. And I don't like confusion. I don't like problems. I just want the end of this chat and I want the result, and I just want to send it to email. I want to put it in DynamoDB. So, so that's what I did. I said invoke the dialog code hook, and this is all on the documentation. But I think, let's see, dialog code hook. I had to activate this dialog code hook. Let me see, and I did have to say invoke Lambda. Um, Now, I told you I told you a couple things that I configured to make the Lambda happen. And I got to be honest with you, there was a little bit of inconsistency in what was happening. And I finally got this thing working, and I don't want to touch it anymore. But I'm just trying to understand. Yeah, so this just asks for a label, uh, and then it was the next step was fulfill intent. So it was a little bit confusing, but once I got it working, I don't want to touch it. But I tried different places to put. I tried different places to put the Lambda invocation. Like I said to myself, after I get the phone number, after you get the email address, I'm good. So I could have tried putting it, after this or whatever. So, so that was the bottom line in configuring it. All I had to do was two things. The Lexbot alias is I got to associate a lambda with the alias for the Lexbot. Then I went and I had options to try to figure out when I wanted to trigger the lambda, and I chose during fulfillment because once I got a yes from the customer to fulfill it, then I want to send the email. So after this answer, I send the email. Okay, so let's move on. Let me just show you. Um, Let me just show you the Lambda. So I call this Lex send email, and basically, let's take a look at it really quick. Okay, so I had many issues. Okay, and it wasn't really a complex coding problem. It was just common JS versus ES6. And what am I supposed to be doing, and why am I getting confused with these two things? But the long of the short of it was, I'm supposed to be able to just import this thing. And it turns out that the error that I got, which I wasn't too crazy about, was that this is a common JS package, and I need to do something in ES6 to make it work. So I had to change this import, which I usually use with ES6, to do this. Now, I had that problem before with another package, and somehow I got around it, but I was wasting time with this, and I decided to just do this. So that I was instructed by Amazon to actually import this first, and then define, destruct and get the SES client, etc., etc. So basically, what I did was, uh, you know, I know I want to email the result, but my first effort was to get the event. So I got the event, and I'm just gonna fix this a little bit because there was there was some confusion about my new Lambda getting triggered. And so I started labeling these things, event one, event two, and I noticed that I wasn't getting event two for a while, and I just couldn't understand it. But eventually it started showing up. So every time I made changes here, I would notice in the log file I wasn't getting the new changes. So what I would do is change this thing and deploy. Now you could see the log file, the transcriptions going into this event, and you could get a handle on it. Um, and then the event has all this data. So eventually, I was poking around trying to figure out where is my conversation, and basically, I found it in event session state intent slots. And so this was where the answers to the slots were located. This was a JSON data that gave me question, answer, question, answer. Now, needless to say, there was other information in the event, and I was poking around the objects trying to find out, you know, resolve slots didn't have it. And so I logged this stuff just to see what's there. But eventually, the data that I was looking for was in the slots. So what I do is I take the entries of the slots, and I log the entries, and then I created a map. And what I did was I pushed the key and values into this result map. So instead of working with a JSON data that was a little bit populated with things I didn't need, I basically created a JSON object which had key value, and so that made it easy for me to read. It made it easier for me to email that result to anyone who needed it, because all the destination needs, the receiver of the email is the key and values. So I created the send email command. I was sending the email to prod.angularorange.io. It I made the email from Steve, and I put the result map in there. And what I did was I used the SES client to send that information, and it it worked after I resolved all the access denied exceptions, and after I changed the Lambda role and I added identities into the SES configuration that I had. But to make a long story short, I'm just creating an email which has a to address, a from address, and some data. This is my result map. This is the name values of the slots, and the customer is making a request with this, and I gave it a little subject so I could see the results. Now, so this worked. This worked. I did quite a bit of logging. Let me show you the logging though, so you can have a better idea of how I debugged this and how I managed to get this done. It's not complicated. It's just tedious. But let me show you what I was dealing with. So let me just go into one of these log files and let me show you my. So let me show you my event. So this was my event at the end of my Lexbot conversation. And I see my event. Notice it says event 5 here, but I changed that. And I was trying to retrieve the information. Now there's objects here which are not getting logged, so I was a little bit, I had to interrogate all those objects. See, resolved context, transcription, resolved object. Okay, and this is where I found the conversation. Session state, intent, slots. So I went in here and I logged all these objects, and here's where the answer of what I wanted. So notice what I did here in the function, or what I did here in the function is I took the session state out of the event and I put it in the slots. And then I took the entries and I got the name value pairs and I sent them as an email. Now, needless to say, there were some things in the JSON that were null. So if it was an outdoor, not indoor, there was a null value here in the entry. So that was breaking my code. So I had to do this to make sure that when I went down one branch, I got everything I needed. If I went down a different branch, that is indoors versus outdoors, then outdoor would have something called null because there's no room associated with outdoor. So entry one was a null, loosely speaking. And that's what I said when I set these values. There was key value, and in some cases there was outdoor and null, whatever. Um, so that's the only strange thing that happened here. And some of this code I scraped off of the documentation. Um, and like I said, the confusion thing is I kept deploying this thing, and every time I used the Lexbot, I just got confused. But now notice when you're in Lex, um, the other thing is now when I change the Lambda, I'm trying to figure out what I need to build. But in some sense, I can't really test unless I refresh. But let's see what happens here in the Lexbot testing environment. Notice it says you need indoor, outdoor, and I've been going down this happy path. I believe you get these things working, and then when you go down a path, you might enhance and then break the other branch. But what kitchen are you trying to fix? What room you're trying to fix? I'm going to say kitchen. What service? I'm going to say floor tiles. I don't have any validation here, so I could say anything I want. First name, last name, phone number. Um, and like I said, if the format, this is a phone number slot, so I'll get an error. This isn't really validated, so I just said state. This is an email address slot, so it will be validated. So let me see, Steve at AngularOrange.io. Now, I'm the user. I'm chatting with this. This is my email address. So this is going to be my from email address. And I'm really targeting, I want a contractor to help me get this work done. So the validation of that, it has to be a valid email address. And now when the Lambda didn't get invoked yet. So when I do yes, it then, I didn't type yes. Let me see, yes. Okay, so I typed the wrong thing, but the email still worked. I'll take a look at that in a minute, but I don't believe I got this. I got this error. The email still went out. It didn't like the response of the Lambda, but the email got sent out with the Lambda. So there's something a little fuzzy here, but like I said, keep in mind that you go down this happy path that works, you do one thing wrong, and all of a sudden it's a little bit broken, and then I think I would have to refresh this. If I change the Lambda, I might even have to build, but let's see. Let me see how I can verify this. Okay, so let me go over here. Let me go to webmail. And I am going to log out of here because that's me, and I'm going into production, and I'm going to see what my email looks like. And it's not well formatted. I didn't use a template or anything. And as a matter of fact, I'm starting to realize that the result map did not get evaluated. But it's okay. My target email got the email, and I assumed that what I did in my code was correct. So let me go back to my code here, and let's see what I did here. Oh yeah, I don't think I used the backtick here. So let me see. Yeah, that was the problem. I didn't use the backtick. So if you want, if you use the backtick, you could put variables in here, and then I'd have to deploy again. So I successfully deployed now, right? Okay, so now I just deployed the Lambda. So watch this. Now, even though I just deployed the Lambda and I changed it, it will take effect in the new Lexbot. It will also take effect in my widget. And remember, the Lexbot, I created a widget. And let me show you that real quick because that's the interesting aspect of this. Is that I'm using Amazon Connect, but I'm really just using my Lexbot, and I'm deploying a widget, and I'm putting it in this website. So let's see how I could show you that. what I'm going to do is I am in Amazon Connect here, and I am in my Connect instance, and I'm going to log in and, and notice in my Connect instance, in my flows, I attach Lambda. Let me just show you this real quick. In my flows, I do attach Lambdas and Lexbots, etc. So over here, I connected my Lambdas, like send notification. I'm using this for workflow in my Amazon Connect. I'm not using it for my widget, my Lexbot widget. So I could remove this thing if I wanted to. But you'll see that with my Connect instance, even though there's workflows and there's Lambdas and there's stuff, what I did was I went to the instance of Amazon Connect. And if you go down here, there's something called communication widgets. And so the communication widget is the widget that I'm using in my website. So this widget will show you the code. This is the widget script. Now, like I said, I have Amazon Connect, and I have an instance of it. I have it configured for telephone calls, and but this Lexbot that I have, the Lexbot could be called from Amazon Connect workflows, but I'm not calling it from a workflow. I'm just I designed and developed this communication widget for a self-service chat, and this script is the script using my Amazon Connect instance. It's the script that I have in my code. It's this widget um, that I open up here and close here. This widget code is in this website. And I'm not making phone, if you look at this, I can make a call. So it uses Amazon Connect, but I'm just chatting here, and I don't even know if I want this button here because I don't have an agent which is answering phone calls. I have the phone calls. I have the phone calls that are in my site. See, I do have a contact number, which I might remove because I could start a call here, but I can call with my cell phone here, which is typically what people do. But I'm trying to determine whether I even want the phone number, because what I want this to be is a completely self-service system. And if you want something, you answer my questions, you get it. If you don't, then you're not going to get it. It's a bad attitude, but for small business, it's self-sufficient. So the idea is the self-connect is the self-service is really what you want. So now, where was I? Did I do it? Did I do a test yet? Did I do a test yet? And so what I'm going to do is let me build this. Let me just show you. If I changed anything in Lexbot, I would have to build. But all I changed was the Lambda. And I'm rebuilding. And I don't really need to rebuild right now because I didn't change anything in the Lexbot. But I'm building because I might have done it, and I won't be working with the latest version of Lexbot. So I have to build. Now notice I am working with a version which is a draft version. It's English language. So right now I'm keeping it as simple as possible. One language, one bot, one Lambda. Okay, so now that's successful. So let's see what happens when I test this thing. And like I said, even though I'm testing this thing here, you could test it on the website. It's the same instance of the Lexbot that I'm pointing to on the Home Task AI website as I am accessing in the console. Um, and so that's really good because I could update the chatbot without updating the website. Um, I say help. What do you want help with? You need indoor. I'm going to say indoor. Uh, I'm going to say kitchen. And like I said, you could answer anything. I'm not doing validation here, but I'm just doing examples. I don't like the question that I'm asking right now because it's not specific. What service? No, I could say floor tiles. I could say floor tile installation. So the questions I'm asking could get much more detailed, but I'm just trying to keep things simple here. Um, and I believe this is a pretty big problem considering all the variations of what people could be asking for. But as long as I get the contact information and give it to the contractor can follow up. I know other services out there do this. They charge customers $7 per contact or $20 per contact, and contractors pay for it. So what you want is a valid licensed contractor. You want someone in the area, local to the user. You want to get the job done for the user. You want everyone to be happy, right? So that's basically what it boils down to. Let me just, I'm just giving a phone number here just for fun. I'm in Connecticut. I could be in any state. It would still. Now, I think as long as this has an at symbol, I'm okay. But I do want to tell you that this email address isn't verified. If the to and from are not verified, I couldn't get this to work. It should be just a to, but um, I had some access permission errors. Okay, I will have to see what this error means. I know what this error means. My Lambda's responding with this, and there's a certain format you have to respond with um, when you're doing this. But I already sent the email with the Lambda, so all I need to do is change the response of my Lambda to have certain values, and it'll be okay. But what's confusing is sometimes I get this error and sometimes I do not. That's the confusing thing to me. But let me just see what happens here. Okay, now, what was I checking? I was checking. Oh yeah, I wanted to check to see whether I got an email request. Let me see. Looks like no data came through. My result map, I stringified it. The data is coming. The data is coming back. I could show you the data. So here's the rest of my log file. I looked in all of these things. I was looking for what can I use? What can I use? This is the entries that I got back from the chat conversation. Um, Outdoor category is null. Last name is Bonacontre. Um, Phone number. This is my phone number. Service was the floor tiles. Um, my recipient address, my state, my category. My category is indoor. Um, these didn't come out in the order that I expected them to, right? So the room is kitchen. I expected the room to be kitchen. So it has to do with the ordering of the entries. So I'll have to look at that because that's. But I think when I sent the email, I did put it in the proper order. First name Steve, outdoors null, last name, phone number. Nope, it logged in the wrong order as well, but um, let me take a look. 'Cause I thought this is the result. Let's see this. So the message, the body of the message has this information. So I think I should have logged out the body, but it's there. It's definitely there because I logged it, and I logged it up to the point. Anyway, you get the picture. You get the picture of what I'm trying to do. So the main goal was to really connect the Lambda to the Lexbot, which I did, and now I'm at the point where I got to make sure that my Lambda is doing what I need to do. There's a lot of stuff I don't need here at the moment. Um, now that I know where the data is in the event, um, it just and then oh, this is interesting. Yeah, yeah. So yes, my create send email. I send the result map in here, and I added the result map. Now the result map is correct because I log it. I logged it here. Let's see where. Let me see where the result was. Is my result. See, result slots doesn't have anything of any. This is my slots. Yeah, so this is my slots. This is the result. This was the result. Now where is my log that says results? Here. Back over here and just see what I did here. This is the result of the call. Yeah, so this is the string of the result map. Didn't really. Then I logged this thing. So yeah, it's not coming out crystal clear because I think it's here. It's in the body text. And I think what I'll do is I think I did this before, but if I do a console.log result map, I should get an answer there. Okay, so now there's one more thing I wanted to show you. In order to get the email working, what I had to do was go over here. Now I go to Services, SES, and what I had to do was create an instance of this SES and add these two identities in it. Now, the documentation says I needed the target, but I was getting an error that I didn't have permission for this one. So I just added this one. These are two identities that are verified. When you add them, you create the identity, you put in the email address, you get an email notification, and you just verify it. So that's why these two addresses need to be verified. And let's see. And I believe that what I'm doing here is I am working. I have an instance of SES that's working in development mode. It's not in production. And they let you do that so you could verify the emails and you could use it. Um, and they call it a sandbox. And basically, that's what I have set up here, an SES instance, which is a sandbox. And I'm just sending emails with that, which is okay. Um, Now, notice this can, considering the way this works, if this was production, you would have to make sure that these emails get verified properly, and you could send to these destinations. Uh, a different story. Don't want to bore you with that, but I just want to tell you that the key to success here was create the Lexbot, then create a communication widget that had certain icons for you. Then this code, you copy this code and you put it in your website and you wind up with this. Now, keep in mind that what's interesting here